Welcome to the Hockey Writers Flames Faceoff, a weekly show with our top Calgary Flames writing crew, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from draft day to the trade deadline, our team covers everything that happens with the Flaming Sea. So get set, get focused. It's time for the Flames Faceoff. Flames Faceoff.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Quinney, and this is the Flames Faceoff, brought to you by the Hockey Writers. This is a weekly podcast where we bring together some of our best writers in the Calgary Flames writing pool, and we discuss all things Flames. Now, to make sure you don't miss an episode of this, what you can do is subscribe to this YouTube channel. And you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And if you like what you see, give us a like on social media. And do be sure to share this video with your fellow Calgary Flames fans. And do make sure that you check out some of the great hockey content that we have here at thehockeywriters.com. So with that, let's get going. I'd like to introduce the panel. We have with us Colton Pankiw. Welcome, Colton. How are you?
I'm good, Paul. How are you?
No complaints, no complaints. And as always, Greg Tysowski. Welcome, Greg.
How you doing? I'm doing okay. I have in honor of our special guest, which we'll introduce. I got my orange on today, and I'm in a different location. I'm at my niece's 16-year-old birthday party, and I'm in her room right now. There's a makeup mirror with these really nice lights all around the corners of the mirror. So great lighting, and I'm sure our fans have noticed I'm not in my usual spot, so this might go viral.
Yeah, well, but no makeup today. You didn't take advantage of the...
I didn't have time. So next time.
Well, maybe next time. And none other than Brett Krauss. Brett, how are you this week?
I'm doing well, and I was going to say, yeah, you might have to stick with the light there, Greg. We can really see the COVID beard now.
Thanks. Thank you. I'm working on it.
And we'd like to extend a warm welcome to our special guest this week, Colin Newby. I'm messing up Colton and Colin. It's just, but Colin Newby. Colin's a freelance journalist from Delaware County, Pennsylvania, and he covers the Philadelphia Flyers for the Hockey Writers. And not only is he a very talented hockey writer, but he's an encyclopedia, as he puts it, of useless sports knowledge with an uncanny ability to rattle off Flyers goaltending stats from 2004 and every Stanley Cup winner during his lifetime. So just a warning to you, Colin, we may test you on that claim.
Okay, I like to back up my statements.
Okay.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm glad to join the show.
Yeah, well, listen, I looked up Delaware County, and it's you call it Delco, right?
Delco, yes. As people around this area, I'm sure not too many fans in the NHL are too familiar with Delco, though, so I don't put that.
Yeah. So it's part of South Philly, or was?
It's suburban. It's kind of Philadelphia is the most territorial place in the world, so people will get very angry if you try to say that Delaware County is a part of Philadelphia. Technically, it is not. It is suburban. It's a fight for territory. It always is in this area, to be honest, but it's one of those local things. It's kind of like a bragging rights back and forth type of deal.
Right. And the claim to fame of Delco is Genesee Cream Ale. Can you buy it at a Wawa? And what the heck is a Wawa?
A Wawa is a convenience store.
Okay.
I'm from Media in Delco, and the Wawa is like a small town right outside Media, where the convenience store was. It's essentially a 7-Eleven, with just like a little better sandwiches and made-to-order food. It's another thing that people get very local about. Penguins fans have Sheets, Flyers fans have Wawa. That's another weird back and forth.
So
Genesee Cream Ale I've never heard before.
No?
I think you're hitting the nail on the head with the cheap beer thing, though. I
Okay.
still drink Natty Light. I'm not past that point yet.
All right. All right. Well, what about Uniling? I mean, is that still a popular beer in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I think it's Pottsville, PA. That's, I want to say, less than an hour outside the city, but Yingling,
All
people
right.
consider that a local beer.
Okay.
I still like the Canadian beers, the Moose Heads.
Yeah.
Mix those into.
Yeah, Moosehead's a popular one down there. I think Americans drink it more than we do, but I could be wrong on that. So no stats on that. But let's get into this week's action. So we're a week into the season, and the Flames are 2-1-1 after 4 games. I wanted to kind of take a look, get your take on, what are the takeaways? I know it's early; it's only 4 games. I suppose there are a number of them. I guess the question I've got is a Calgary character starting to emerge based on what you've seen? Colton, any thoughts on that? Is that character, that sought after character, is it emerging from what you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, it's so early, so it's tough to get a read still. I mean, obviously it didn't start out well there, those first 2 losses. And then it kind of seemed like things were turning around. They played pretty well against Detroit and started out really good against Washington, but then, like we were talking about before the show, gave up 3 unanswered there for it to go to overtime. So it's still, like I said, it's early, kind of inconsistent, a bit reminiscent to last year, but again, I want to see some more before I'm ready to say anything too negative or positive.
Yeah. Greg, your thoughts on, takeaways from the week. And I'm particularly interested in what your thoughts were on Vladar's performance. I didn't see the game. I was, as I say, enjoying my anniversary celebration in Quebec City with my wife, but and she took exception to the suggestion that I steal away and watch the game. So I didn't do that. But how did they blow a 3-0 lead?
I've actually been writing about my Flames weekly today, so I've been looking at the entire week, and it's kind of, I think anyone would take 5 out of 6 points in the last 3 games, but it's the way that they all happened, which was kind of weird because they had this, they blew a lead in the first game, and they relied heavily on Markstrom in the second to win, and then in the third game they almost blew it again. So it was kind of a weird last 3 games, and I was very curious to see how Daniel Vladar would play, and he had a pretty solid first period. I think there was a post in the first few minutes that kind of woke him up, and then after that he was just okay. Like, he ended up stopping 22, 25, and then 880 save percentage, and sometimes that's not good enough, but it was good enough. I think he made just enough saves to keep him in it, and he played well in the OT, and he looked confident, and I thought he did okay for his very first Calgary Flames start. So I was happy to see him get his first career win with the Flames. So all in all, I was happy with the 3 games. It just kind of how they got there was kind of weird, how they managed to get 5 out of 6 points.
Yeah, Brett, your thoughts? Anything jump out at you from the 4 games you've seen?
Yeah, I think when you talk about what kind of team we're seeing, that I think they're definitely becoming a possession monster type of team. I think there's been several moments in each game where they kind of just suffocated the other team in their own end, and they just basically played keep away in the offensive zone for 2-3 minutes. And we're seeing they're getting decent amount of shots and good time in the offensive zone. So I think they're doing the right things to start. They had I don't think Markstrom was up to snuff against the Oilers, but he played really well in the next 2. And then I think Vladar was good enough, like Greg said, but it's a guy who's got 6 games of NHL experience, so I think that's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for Vladar to come in, every couple of weeks and play. So overall, I think it's positive after the first 4 games. So we'll see where they go from here.
Yeah. Hey, Colin, I want to get your take on this one. The Flames want to be hard to play against. That's, Sutter's come out with that. That's the goal here. I think you recently wrote a piece, or you're working on a piece on hockey cliches, and that's one of them. What are your thoughts on teams that are trying to be hard to play against? What's it mean?
Sure. So the Flyers have emphasized the same thing. Their general manager, Chuck Fletcher, really hammered this point to death over the offseason. They brought in a lot of character guys, and it's what people call the grit, sandpaper intensity, whatever cliche you want to use.
Yeah.
There's one quote in my recent article, and you can check that out on the Hockey Writers. But it talks about a strong 200-foot game, muscling in corners, and overall intensity. So to define these things, it really takes the eye test. It's not something that analytics are ever going to measure, but I think that good teams do have these characteristics, and it's not surprising that the Flames and the Flyers would try to do it. Both of them had very disappointing seasons last year. So one thing that you are going to emphasize is that you come out on top in those tighter games, which neither team did last year.
Right. How do you think that's going to work with some of the teams in the Metropolitan Division? Have you seen many of them play to this point?
Sure. So I saw the game on Saturday. The Flames got up 3-0, but blew the lead to the Washington Caps, ended up winning in overtime. One thing that I heard you guys describe was the Sutter style of hockey, where you're trying to stifle the other attack defensively. That's a tough ask against the Washington Caps. They obviously have some great firepower over there with Ovechkin. I think Kuznetsov had a big game. But, I mean, ultimately they fought through. I think that's a good win. To be able to still come out on top when you blow a lead like that is good. Who else do they have? The Devils, Penguins, and Flyers this week, or Rangers also. So all those teams, minus maybe New Jersey, they have some pretty good firepower. The Devils was signing Dougie Hamilton. That's their big free agent acquisition. They still have PK Subban. They're looking for some kind of bounce back from him. I feel like he's 40 years old, but I looked it up. He's only 32. So that's more coming from the blue line from them. With the Rangers, you got Zibanejad. He's been a point-a-game player so far, and they've won 4 in a row. Adam Fox, who's probably the best young defenseman in the league. Cal McCarr gets all the attention, but it's Fox who won the Norris. So they're going to have their hands full with a lot of Metro firepower this year. The Penguins are going to have Crosby or Malkin, but they somehow seem to play better without Crosby and Malkin. I'm not sure how to quantify that either. Maybe they get harder to play against, but give some credit to Mike Sullivan there because they're somehow off to a good start without their 2 superstars.
Right. Just before we leave the takeaways, guys, from this week's play, I guess there are a number, goals were hard to come by. I think in the first 3 games they had 90 shots, but only 4 goals. Are they creating enough chaos in front of the net? Colton, your thoughts on that? Are they?
Yeah, I thought it was concerning just based off the fact that last season they really struggled to score, but then that's kind of turned around already. So I think they ran into 2 really hot goalies when those first 2 games of the season. Like Mike Smith, I think, stopped 43 shots or something that first game. So yeah, no, I'm not too worried about the team overall. The one player I guess I'm starting to worry about quite a bit just based off of last season too is Monahan.
Right.
He's just, I don't know what's going on, but he's really struggling. But the team as a whole, I think, has done a pretty good job at, I think, the last 2 games of getting more traffic in front and just creating more opportunities.
Yeah. Greg, any thoughts on offense? I think you've got to be impressed with Lindholm. He's on fire.
I think he leads the league in goals right now, or at least tied for the lead with 6. it's funny how you had mentioned, like, in the first 2 games, he had 90 shots and 2 goals per game. And since then, though, against Detroit and then later on in the road trip, they were getting shots instead of in the 40s, they're getting shots in the 20s, and yet they were scoring more goals. So I just think they're kind of finding their footing now offensively. I think in this first 2 games, they had so many shots, but if you kind of dove deeper into the analytics, they weren't a lot of high quality chances there. But so I think they were capitalizing more on their chances in those last 3 games, and they scored 4 goals. Sutter keeps saying this is a 3-2 league, and they scored 2 goals in their first 2 games and lost, and they scored 3+ in their next 2 games. And so I think he might be onto something there. You need to score more than 2 goals a game to win in this league. And sure enough, they scored 4 against the Capitals, and that was enough. So I think they're, after a slow start, they're getting back on track. And if Lindholm can keep this up, and even Mangiapane has 3 goals already on the season, 3 goals in 4 games, I think they're looking pretty good. And even though Gaudreau is not scoring goals, he's playmaking like nobody's business. He's got 6 assists already. And I agree with Colton. I'm concerned about Monahan. He's all of a sudden a 4th line center. He's been playing with Lucic and Trevor Lewis, and that's not a role I think any of us would have ever thought we'd see Monahan be in. I know it's only probably temporary, but is it crazy to see that? Like when I saw that in practice the other day, and then in the lineup, I was like, wow, like that is something I thought I'd never see.
Yeah, that is surprising. Brett, last word to you. Any other surprises in terms of takeaways this week at all? Maybe
I think one of the main takeaways, I think their first line is Tkachuk, Gaudreau, Lindholm is clicking. Like they've started hot, and hopefully they can, keep that consistency. And then I think the only other thing is they kind of got to figure out who really is their second line, because it seems to kind of be, Mangiapane and Dubé, and but then you have Michael Backlund and Blake Coleman, and like the guys said, you have Monahan on the 4th line, so it kind of almost feels very blendery after the first line. So I think the major thing this week is going to be trying to find those consistent lines, which I think goes back to last year. We talked about for several episodes, is finding those consistent lines and pairings. So I think it's a big week for sure coming up to kind of find that consistency outside the top line.
So Colin, you gave us a good recap of what the Flames can expect against the Rangers, the Devils, and the Penguins. But I'm particularly interested, though, because you're a Philly writer. Next Saturday night, and they'll be at home, or the Flyers will be at home. Flyers will be in town. What do you think the Flyers have got in store? What can the Flames expect next Saturday night?
So the Flyers are coming off a decent homestand to start. They were 2-1-1. They defeated the Boston Bruins on Wednesday, which I think was kind of a feel-good win. They lost to them 5 in a row to start the year last season. So Boston just kind of had their number. They were really in their heads. So to get one against the Bruins, they won 5-3 the other night. That was big for them. As we already mentioned a little bit, they're really emphasizing character and chemistry so far. It is a good feeling around the group right now. Claude Giroux said after Saturday night's loss that if they do the same things they did on their first 4-game homestand, then good things are going to happen. They'll go out to Western Canada versus Edmonton and Vancouver before they get the Flames. And then on Saturday, you can probably expect Carter Hart in goal, but they are rotating Martin Jones in to share the load a little bit. Carter Hart's had a decent start, but I think he is the real key to this Flyers team. He was the worst statistical goaltender in the NHL last season, and it was a huge part of the Flyers' issues. They want to be more sound defensively in front of him. That's something they emphasized in the offseason as well. But I think he is the true key there. Anybody to watch for, I would say Joel Farabee. He's off to a good start. I think he has a point per game so far. I think he has 4 in 4 games. Cam Atkinson has been great, especially on the penalty kill. He has 4 goals already this season.
So there's some interesting connections though between Philadelphia and Calgary. So Pitlick played in Philly, and he was well liked. And then Johnny Gaudreau, he's a New Jersey boy. Apparently, he loved Philadelphia. That was his team when he was young. And there's some speculation in Calgary, or has been, that if they're not able to re-sign him in Calgary, that Philadelphia is one of 5 teams on his modified no trade clause that he's got. I just want to get your take, Colin. Would Philly love to get their hands on him? I mean, in Calgary, they think that that would be the case. But what's your thinking on Gaudreau and Philly, or going to Philadelphia?
So it seems like this comes up almost every year. As we said in the opening, Philadelphia is one of the most territorial places in the world. And when Flyers fans hear every time we play the Flames that Johnny Gaudreau is from South Jersey, they immediately think, oh, well, he needs to come to Philadelphia. He needs to play for the Flyers. As you said, he really does have roots that run deep in the area. His club team, the Hollydale Hurricanes, is over in South Jersey. I think his fiance is from a private school on the main line. He owns a summer home down at the Jersey Shore. So the connection is certainly there, but I just don't think it's realistic ultimately. Gaudreau's making 6.75 on the cap hit, and I don't see the Flyers making that big of a splash at the deadline this year. Down the road, I guess it's a possibility, but I just don't see how the Flyers fit that under their cap, especially with the off-season acquisitions they made and the high-profile roster turnover. I don't think that Gaudreau fits into that. Although I'm sure he would love to also.
Yeah. Colton, quick one here. Are you relieved? It sounds, based on what Colin's saying, we don't have to, or Calgary doesn't have to worry about him going to Philadelphia. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm still in the mindset that the two sides, like the Flames and Gaudreau, are going to get a deal worked out. So yeah. I know that Philly thing's been there, like Colin said.
Got it enough times also.
Yeah. I think that connection's been there for like years now. But I still am in the mindset that something will get done between the Flames and Gaudreau.
Yeah. Anybody, I don't know, Greg, Brett, I'm probably putting you on the spot here, but from what you know of Philly, is there anybody that Calgary would want to get their hands on?
I mean, tough call. I mean, because, like Colin said, you think you got to move a lot of money to either sign him as a free agent, or if the Flames kind of tank this season, to trade him at the deadline. So I mean, I think if you're trading Johnny Gaudreau, that kind of might signal the beginning of a rebuild. So I think you'd be looking at prospects and picks, but not sure if Philadelphia has any prospects that are high profile enough to make it kind of worth your while. So I think it's a tough call, but I think, Colin's right. It just doesn't work right now under their cap hit, especially with their off-season moves.
Yeah. Greg, final thoughts to you. And in particular, I mean, if there are 5 teams on his no trade clause, that certainly makes it tough to move him if that's what ends up happening. Thoughts on Gaudreau leaving town, or where?
Well, I think if they are going to move him, a few different possibilities. There's I think Cole was saying, there's the prospects and picks kind of move, and there's what I think would happen if they ever did try and move Gaudreau is I think they would, they could try and do like an actual hockey deal, hockey trade, kind of a 1-for-1. And the Flyers have like some wingers, like that are attractive, like Travis Konecny is someone who's a decent player who might fit here. And James Van Riemsdyk like had a bounce back year last year. Like I don't think the Flyers would ever trade Gaudreau for a center because like top six centers are kind of rare commodity. Like a good one, is you want to hold on to those guys. So it's like it maybe be I could see like a winger for a winger kind of thing if they wanted to. If Gaudreau really wanted to move on, he said he wants to stay in Calgary, but no one really knows what's in the mindset of Johnny Gaudreau. And if he went to the Flames and said, I want to go to one of these 5 teams, maybe there is a hockey deal in there somewhere, kind of a 1-for-1, which is pretty rare these days. It seems a lot of trades are like salary dumps or for prospects and picks. So maybe if Gaudreau goes somewhere in these 5 teams, it would be an actual real, the unicorn, the actual hockey trade, a 1-for-1 star for a star kind of thing. I don't know. Could happen.
Colin, you want to start a rumor here? Konecny going to Calgary, or does that have any legs? Good article.
It never hurts to speculate, but the Flyers did give Konecny a vote of confidence in the offseason. He was rumored in a few trades, but I think if it was going to happen, it would have already happened this offseason, and the guys that they brought in. Van Riemsdyk, I guess that's not out of the realm of possibility. He's another Jersey boy, by the way. He has 2 years left at a $7 million cap hit. So I guess salary-wise, that would solve the issue. But, I mean, it depends what they would want to do stylistically. I don't think at this juncture they're really actively shopping Van Riemsdyk or anything like that, though.
All right. Well, let's switch gears here. I wanted to take a look at the issues around Calgary's defense core. And I think the standout issue is probably Tanev and trying to pair him with someone. I think he's been paired so far with 4 different partners. The latest one has been Shillington. Sutter, interestingly, has said someone needs to step up to be able to earn a regular spot playing with Tanev. Has Shillington done that? Colton, I'm going to tap you on that one. I guess he was a healthy scratch Monday night, but he played Thursday, and I'm not sure what happened yesterday afternoon. But could he be Tanev's partner?
Well, I was disappointed when they had scratched him at the start of the year, just based off the fact that he had a really good camp. It's kind of still a mystery, like what I still can't really tell what the organization thinks of him. It's confusing there. But yeah, as far as finding someone for Tanev, it's been interesting so far. Like they tried Zadorov and that did not work out at all. I think you see a lot of the fans, there was nobody that was too pleased about that. And then Zadorov was scratched this last game. So it's still kind of a revolving door, I think. I don't think they've found one steady guy yet, but I think Shillington looked a lot better than Zadorov, in my opinion.
Right. Brett, your thoughts on that? A partner for Tanev, and then I'd also like to get your thoughts on, I guess, HANIFIN and ANDERSSON. Again, I'm not sure what happened Saturday, but as of Thursday, no one had scored on them. What are your thoughts on a partner for Tanev?
Yeah, I think I agree with Colton. I think Shillington looked a lot better than Zadorov. I think Zadorov and Tanev styles kind of clash because they're both, kind of more stay-at-home defensemen and big bruiser kind of bodies. And so I think Shillington with Tanev, he's got great skating ability, in my opinion. And, he's got lots of speed and he can jump in the play. And so I think playing with a guy like Tanev, he can just take care of his own end. And then, Shillington's jumping up with the forwards, or if Tanev makes a pinch, he's able to, back check and catch forwards. So right now, from just kind of the eye test, I think, Shillington's just the way he's built, the way he plays works much better with Tanev. And then with Hanifin and Andersson, it's really, really early in the season, but I kind of have a feeling that Rasmus Andersson might be back. Like everyone kind of expected him to take that next step last year, and he just had a terrible season. You know, he was just getting beat, and I think when he played with Giordano, they had, you know, the most high danger chances against amongst all the D pairs. And so, yeah, like you said, they haven't been scored on yet. So I think that's partially credit to Hanifin. He really took a big step last year, and he looks to be doing it again, even after, pretty gruesome injury or shoulder injury last year. So yeah, it's still early, but I think it's a nice combination of, Rasmus Andersson finally getting his footing on that first pair, and Hanifin continuing to excel.
Yeah. Greg, final thoughts to you on the Calgary defense, Tanev, and are any changes you'd like to see, or?
It's funny because I wrote my first Flames Weekly last week, and I kind of have this section of kind of like winners and losers of the week, and I kind of I made it clear that I thought the Flames should sit Nikita Zadorov, and lo and behold, in week 2 they've sat him for the last 2 games in favor of Shillington. So I think maybe the Flames coaching staff must be fans of Flames Weekly, because they took my advice down to the letter. So I might be asking for a little consulting fee if they keep on taking my advice. But I totally agree with the guys. Like, Shillington is a better fit. I don't think you need 2 kind of stay-at-home guys, and Zadorov has really no offensive upside at all. He can hit guys. He's a big guy, big presence, net front presence, all that stuff. But Shillington is a smooth skater. He can get into trouble and skate out of trouble. So I think I agree with the guys. Shillington is a much better fit for Tanev. I think Tanev did wonders steadying Noah Hanifin's game, and he can do wonders to get Shillington kind of into the mix as well.
Okay. Colin, just before we go, I got to do this. I got to put you on the spot. I want you to make a prediction for next Saturday, because on next Sunday, I'd like to have you back. We'll recap that Philly Flames game. Who's going to take that one next Saturday?
Well, I mean, I feel like I kind of have to make the homer pick, especially you guys grilling me about Delco and about Johnny Gaudreau. I have to stay Philly proud on this one. So I'll go Flyers. I'll go lower scoring and keep it 3-1. Okay. I'll say Gaudreau gets the goal against his hometown team, but the Flyers come out on top with a 3-1 win.
All right. So if you lose that, Colin, I'm going to bring on to the recording a nice big piece of humble Philly cheese pie. That's
Philly cheese pie. Is that a thing? I guess so.
Yeah, cheesecake actually, but yeah, humble pie to the loser. And I guess Calgary loses it, then
if Philadelphia wins, I'll go to the local cheesesteak place and just eat while I'm on camera. Load for you guys.
I'd like that.
Okay. All right. You're on. So thank you, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but that was a great discussion as always. And thanks everybody for joining us for this episode this week. And we'll see you, as you've heard, 1 week from today to recap, among other things, the Philadelphia Flyers Calgary Flames game next Saturday. And in the meantime, to make sure you don't miss an episode, subscribe to this YouTube channel, give us a like on Facebook and Twitter, share this with your fellow Flames fans, and do make sure that you check out some of the great hockey content that we have here at thehockeywriters.com. Until next week, take care.